Ladies and gentlemen, I'm recording this video on May 7th, 2024. Exactly 200 years ago, Beethoven's Ninth Symphony went into a premiere in Vienna. And yet we're going to talk about Bach in this Beyond the Notes video. I don't think that Beethoven mind us talking about Bach today instead of making a tribute to his music. We did that already with the symphonies. All the symphonies have been recording, and exactly today we press the green button for the production of these 10 CD boxes to start. But I don't think Beethoven would mind actually that we today are gonna talk about a fugue by Bach, and not just a fugue by Bach. We're going to talk about the B minor fugue of the first book, which is one of the most bizarre, if I can say it like that, fugues that Bach ever have written. Bach looks into the future. He projects music 200 years ahead in the future with a theme, only the theme of this fugue, that if you don't know this fugue, you have to stick around because there are some aspects on this music, on this perspective, on this Bach, I would say, that you definitely want to know. So welcome to another Beyond the Notes. So welcome here, my name is Wim Winters. In case you are new here to this channel, we talk a lot about music, we play a lot of music here on the clavichords, organ music, also on the fortepiano. We do a lot of stuff, around tempo reconstruction, metronome things and things like that. And therefore the 7th of May, today, we press the green button for the 10 CDs box Beethoven symphonies, all 9 symphonies in whole beat to be produced. Everything has been checked, double checked, triple checked. The booklet of 72 pages, it will be just an awesome CD box. And so 7th of May 2024 was our D-Day to make that happen. But let's quickly go to Bach. Let's quickly go to this B minor fugue. When I first learned this piece, and it's not too long ago, like a few years, in the preparation of the recording of the WTC, I had never before played this fugue. And as a good musician, tend not to listen too much to recorded music, I of course heard the piece maybe once, but I forgot about it. And probably I didn't hear it a lot of times because it would have struck my attention. With this theme, Bach does something remarkable. He is using all 12 tones of the scale. All of them. When you talk about Schoenberg and the second Viennese school and the atonal music, it's a different concept. Bach is still in a tonal domain, so to say. We have a tonica, we have a ground note, we have a firm foundation, but yet this theme in combination also with a largo theme, largo tempo, which is very slow. It's about the slowest tempo you would have in Baroque music in that time. So clearly working in a tempo environment which is more 8/8 structure than 4/4. That creates this very long theme, and as a listener, this is not anymore like a motive or a melody. This is not something that you would, whistle when you walk across the street. This is something of a bizarre nature, especially in this context of this Baroque music. Where does it go? We're going down, a falling fifth, intervals going down. It's not the most pleasant thing to witness, to experience. And then we go up. All kind of suspiratio, anticipations. Falling fifth. Again up, diminished seventh. Again down. Again up, diminished seventh. Oh. So along this theme, when you're listening to it, when you're playing it, you have no direction. And Bach does that, of course, with a purpose. He leaves behind this tonal, well, not the tonal system as a whole, but in the context of that time, it's pretty advanced. So as a listener, and even to us today, we have basically listened to everything that's possible in our Western, like, music. Like, what else can you do? Yeah, you can have some effects, you can have some electronic music, some whatever, use digital techniques. But I mean, in terms of like, what can you do with the 12 tone structure? We have heard everything. Even to us, we lose direction. It's like, where does it go? Do you still have the feeling that you are in B minor here? And then B sharp. It's of course like leading to the C sharp as a bridge to F sharp minor. But in between, with all these jumps, with all these dramatic intervals, Bach is using this new technique or this new idea of using all the 12 notes, which makes sense in the WTC. I mean, you really work across all the tonalities. All the 12 tones come in major and minor, and then the last fugue, you're using those 12 notes to create a fugue theme. But the expression that it adheres to that is stunning. He creates this atmosphere of being completely forgotten, like in this ice field, like where nothing is there anymore, cold moonlight. You're completely abandoned by everybody, by everything. You're there on your own, and it's black, it's dark, you have no idea where to go. And maybe I'm over dramatizing this a little bit, but it's that feeling. In a way, it goes beyond Beethoven. I'm sorry, Beethoven, if you're listening. But there is, how can you still translate this feeling into something of a human expression, of human emotion? It feels more abstract than that. And yet it's tangible. And on the clavichord, of course, you have the B-boom. Or you can apply the B-boom. You may not hear it on this microphone, but on the recording you will hear it very clearly. No direction. Only Zeusser motives, that's suspiratio, pain. And yet the great thing about this theme entrance, and this video, by the way, will only be about the 4 theme entrances and a little bit about the way Bach actually compensates for this harmonic weirdness. Because that's enough. This piece is unbelievable, but only that theme. If I would stop here, I have the feeling that was a great piece of music. Isn't that just unbelievable? Let's listen to this opening theme on the recording just to have the full context of this piece, and then we continue. So finally we arrive in bar 4 on the F sharp. And F sharp minor, F sharp, the dominant of B minor, naturally should have the second theme entrance, and it happens here as well. But then something really spectacular happens. The note that's left out in the second theme entrance in the left hand here in the middle voice is given in the right hand. But in an astonishing way. Let's just listen to it. So here we have the second theme entrance. And now, I mean, when I played that for the first time, I honestly checked another edition because I couldn't believe what I heard. Sorry, it's even worse. If you are a student in conservatory and you have to write a fugue, you will not pass your exam if you do it like this. So two dissonances compared to the B, but where do they lead to? There is almost no anticipation. You could say like these two notes, they form this chord, but like an anticipation on an anticipation, and then harmonically not tied together, like not really. In any fugue, how many dissonances you have to have solutions in this style. There is no solution. Where is it? How do you say that? Tritonus, tritonus, and like an augmented fourth almost. Unbelievable, this C natural, and that it still has this effect on us so many years later, again after hearing everything that is possible within this language of 12-tone system. Still this is like, what's happening? And this is of course Bach's purpose. And by the way, you could say like, how did people respond in that time? I was thinking about it, but then suddenly realizing also this music was not widespread in that time. This was not like the concertos, and even that music was not widespread, but that was music for the larger crowd, you know, but this was very intimate music that today we all have it on our bookshelves, but back in the days only Bach and a few of his students had that. They copied that, if they were allowed to copy that or to buy it. This was not something that Bach would take to in a castle with some kind of baron or count and then 50 people there, and then now let's play a fugue, and then everybody listening like, what, unbelievable. This would probably not be accepted in that time. So this was like Bach's mind in his study room for a very small circle of people. And then you come to these results, but even within the works of Bach that are meant for these, you know, these small circles of people around him, this is exceptional. I don't know if this was just an exercise for Bach or that this was a direction that he really saw himself in, like developing. He didn't. I mean, this is, I think, by far the most advanced piece and most advanced harmonics piece that Bach ever has created. And so we have the C natural here. If you recover from that, we develop the rest of the theme. And then we end the theme. And then we create the bridge to the third theme. Actually, we end the second theme, and this is already a motive that he will use to create bridges to other theme entrances, but also to other periods. Like as I said at the beginning, we will have passages here, and I will soon, when we are done with the development of these four voices, I will show you that where Bach really gives us a little bit of like, we can breath, like air, still harmonic air, I would say. But see how he ends this. So C sharp, and the left hand here is the end of the theme. And then you would say, no, he doesn't do that. He ended like that. Again, this like this diminished quarter interval, there's like this friction that he is actually introducing there is unbelievable. I suggest we listen to the theme entrance again, and now with the second theme on the recording to get the full scope and the power of this piece. So the third theme entrance will come as a surprise. Why? Because if we listen to the theme and you experience this kind of friction, this like foggy ice field where nothing is moving and you feel lost and there's nobody and you shout for help or whatever, make an image there. It's lonelier than these romantic Beethoven paintings, like I say Beethoven paintings because like the Moonlight Sonata, for instance, where you can see this like water and you're there moonlit, but it's still like trees and flowers and warmth, or it's not too cold. But here it's like a science fiction movie. There is this like on another planet. But Bach manages after the second theme, at least that's how I feel this piece, to create something, the bridge to the third entrance, that it's even scarier with less notes, but that when the third entrance actually takes place, that you get a feeling of relaxation, like it's like, okay, back to something that we already knew, which is not very pleasant, but at least we know it. And I mean this. So the end of the second theme entrance ends here, and we have these 16th notes. Bach is introducing here and there 16th notes. And by the way, it's an 8, like I said at the beginning, largo 8 structure. We're going to come back on that. Why I'm really sure that the tempo should be in 8th notes and not in quarter notes. Harmonically, this is going way too fast when you think in quarter notes. Well, you can do that, but then you miss a little bit of this drama. But we come back on that later. So the 8 notes are followed by 16th notes, but Bach takes it back. At the end of the second theme entrance, we already saw that. Quarter notes in the right hand, 8 notes in the left hand. The bridge here again is 16th note. And here you can talk about it also here, like here, this interval. You need time. So thinking in 8 notes here makes all the sense. And then he ends like this. On the clavichord, of course, on the harpsichord as well, you don't hear that D anymore. You can repeat it, but you don't. It's not necessary. I think you create this like almost how do you say that, monody, like one melody, while you have a dialogue of 2, because we have 2 theme entrances and they go into a certain dialogue. But these awkward long notes give room to the 16th notes, diminished quarter interval, and then wait, now the dialogue. And this small group, this pattern where you have the 8th notes, Bach takes the movement back from the 16th to the 8th notes, which is like suddenly again you feel like you're standing still. You were thinking like, oh, the 16 notes. Now the piece becomes a little bit more, still you have this gray, ice white atmosphere, but a little bit more like nicer. At least you're walking, and then no. Standing still, there you have the C again. Dramatic intervals. Like people whispering to each other, like knowing that something is going to happen, and like shh, very high. Also here, very high in the keyboard. There is no grass, there's no trees, there's no warmth, there's nothing of this romantic feeling. This is like we are on another planet where there's even not sunshine, cold. And there comes the third theme entrance, and then suddenly it's unbelievable, right? This is Bach, eh? This fifth is a little bit too small now, it's tuning clavichord, but anyway. desperate here. And you get 16 notes there, but basically to go to this. So the counter motive of melodies, if you want to, like the embellishment, you could say in the right hand. So the right hand needs to do something, right? While the theme entrance is there. And Bach creates this almost atmosphere of, let's go back to normal situation, like in the right hand. But of course, it cannot be with that theme. Harmonically, he tries to, this is not weird, and you go there with an, but still he has to follow the weird structure of that 12th tone motive theme. But you get the feeling that the original power of that theme, like we discussed, the power in the sense of you are there on this planet, wherever, where there is no warmth, where there's no green, there's no grass, there's no water, there's nothing. That now the right hand, so the two upper voices, are providing a little bit of that. Just a little bit, enough to make it bearable. And as a master in composition, the fourth theme entrance is preserved for the upper voice. If you just think about that, this theme with all these expressive intervals that go down but also go up, like, it's not too hard to think like, how do I create a first climax? Well, by waiting with the upper voice entrance, because then you as a composer have the possibility to create this climax high. It's like the soprano who gives everything there. And that happens. So the fourth theme entrance comes after a bridge again, where you have this motive, which will play a huge role later. Nice modulation. Back to B minor. I'm not playing more notes, but the notes that are tight or the very long notes I play again, and it's actually very pleasant to do on the clavier. Like for instance, the F sharp here stays for 3 beats. You can repeat that, and here create this beautiful dissonance. I sometimes wonder if that is not just possible. I'm preparing now the second book, and it's so many instances where that just hitting that note, and the bass, we know that's described like a bass note, you repeat it as many times as you deem necessary. And they just tie the note for bars and measures to go, but if the instrument has a shorter note, and if you don't play an organ basically, or you're not a singer, you can just hit the bass note because that's a fundamental note. I'm not sure that also applies for all the other voices, but sometimes it's just so pleasant to do. And if you would sing the piece, of course, you would hear all these. There we go. And now we go up. I'm playing slower, let you hear the... And so masterful. I'm seeing now my face is very dark because the sun has gone down and the camera's not adjusting my face. So I'm looking, and if I look if I look at myself in the little screen there, I'm this little Iceman on this lonely desert, never, always abandoned planet. Anyways, it's about the music we're now talking, we're dealing with. But this is an incredible moment because you have again 16th notes, but notice where Bach stops with this motion of 16th notes. Higher. No 16th notes here. And not this. He's using the chromaticism of the theme to do like this. Have you ever experienced a major chord to be so painful here? Like, what? We don't want that G sharp, and we get that. But then, and now, crying. End of the theme. But now listen what he does. Not this. No. This. Again, this diminished quarter interval. Now we are in B minor, but not yet in the bass. And we will never get there. Going to F sharp minor. So before closing in B minor, Bach leads us again to the dominant, and then we come to an incredible kind of bridge that creates so much counterplay, so much compensation for what has going on in these first four theme entrances. I suggest we'll listen to the four theme entrances a little bit before, like starting from within the third, to again, you have to really experience this harmonic complexity. It's not complexity, it's like harmonic pain almost in its context, to really absorb that. There we go. And so, final element for you to notice in this incredible fugue. It's a very long piece, and especially in this tempo. It's like when you listen to that on the recording that I made, just sit down and just don't expect anything. Just wait for it. Like let it come over you, and at the end of the piece, after the final note, you will have this incredible feeling of, wow, what happened? You know, when we play slower, like our whole beat tempi and Beethoven, but also my recordings of Bach are not the fastest that are known to humanity, I would say. Of course, there is an influence there from Beethoven to Bach for me, especially. I mean, you learn also more about the 18th century tempi by playing Beethoven this way. But I sometimes talk to people and they say, yeah, but if you played, like for instance, the beginning of this theme, we don't have this expectation of moving forward, but that's a different listening experience. Don't expect anything. Just like, as if you watch a painting, just lean back and just wait. If you listen this way, when the piece is over, there is of course a lot going on. And the more you listen to music played in this way, the more you will be able to just enjoy the moments here and there, because you get rid of this feeling of moving forward. That's of course leading us to ever faster tempi. I have actually no idea how people play this piece in general, but I can expect it's much faster. But anyways, we are now at the end of the fourth entrance, and Bach is creating this incredible island, harmonic island almost, like as if there is a curtain that is actually going away and you suddenly see that it was all a theater. You weren't really on a planet, but it was actually staged, and there is the real world. Or isn't it? Are you looking to the real world from the place where you are, that planet? That's a question for you to answer. Maybe not so important, but the contrast is enormous. So we end here the fourth theme entrance. We end here, and then and it just continues like. And then comes the theme again. There we go. And then Bach, of course, is going to play with all the elements that he has set up in a Beethovenian way. They're very remarkably similar in this way, to use some very small motives like nothing, and then create these masterpieces that if you analyze, you fail to find all the material because there is not so much. It's just how they use that material. So with this piece, with this fugue, Bach sets, so to say, his perimeter. Like, I don't know if that's an English word, we say that in Dutch. But it's like, that is his harmonic world, that is musical world. He doesn't go further. I mean, when you would go further than this, you are really knocking on the doors of Schoenberg. Like, that's what you do, because then you really are gonna leave this tonal system where you have this ground note, a B in this. So Bach doesn't do that, but he goes until that point. And for me personally, when I was preparing for the WTC's recording, that's available on CD, by the way. Check it out. I shouldn't forget to say that. But anyways, when I was preparing for that, this was one of those pieces where where I had to correct my understanding of Bach's harmonic world. This was much beyond that, what I thought Bach's language actually was. And this is remarkable, and it's not only because of that fact. It's not like, hey, Bach was so new here, he was foreseeing the future, he was actually setting the future. Probably this piece had very little influence in that. It's not like Beethoven's music, who set the entire 19th century and perhaps also parts of the 20th century with his music. Like, everything was there. I sometimes think, if you listen to the Ninth Symphony, like, what, yeah, good luck for composers like Brahms and Schumann, born like after Beethoven. It's unbelievable. Everything was there, and they worked with that material because that music was so known. But in Bach's time, this piece was barely known to a handful of people, so it didn't make that impact. But it's not important either. What's important is what Bach is doing with that language, with that material, and that's incredible. Let me know in the comments what your experience is with this piece, or if you listen to it for the first time, what your experience now is. I'm really looking forward to that. So, in the meantime, thanks for watching. We see each other very soon again. Bye.